This video is based on Lingshan Hermit's work What True Evil Is, and the Beginnings of the World's Fall. All rights reserved. Any infringement will be pursued. In the 11th century, the Mongol armies once carried out massacres in Nishapur and Urgench in Central Asia. In the massacre at Nishapur, they slaughtered nearly every man, woman, and child in the entire city. It is said they spared not even the cats and dogs of the place. The cause of this massacre is reported to have been that an important Mongol general was killed by an arrow during the siege. Massacre was the Mongols' favorite strategy of terror and intimidation in the early period of their warfare. They massacred at Nishapur, massacred at Samarkand, massacred at Baghdad. In each massacre at least several 100,000 were killed. They piled the severed heads together into the shape of pyramids. And in 18th century Russia, there was a famous Countess Saltykova who lived in the outskirts of Moscow. And what she most loved to do was to torture her female serfs to death by all manner of methods. She would beat them with wooden cudgels, scald them with boiling water, force them to stand naked outdoors in winter as punishment, and the like. By count, she killed altogether more than 100 persons. For these long-running crimes of cruelty and murder she was confined for over 30 years in an underground cell in Moscow. She was a contemporary of Empress Catherine. And in 1950s Wisconsin in the United States, when the police were investigating the disappearance of a grocery store owner and walked onto the farm of Ed Gain, they saw there a sight that would haunt them all their lives. They saw objects fashioned from human skin, saw furniture made of bone, saw human heads and the remains of corpses. All from bodies Gain had exhumed from graves. He sewed garments from the skin of these corpses and wore them to dance at midnight. Many terrible things have happened in this world, many terrible things continue to happen now, and many terrible things will perhaps go on happening in the future. We know there exist in this world monsters such as Ed Gain. We know there was a man born in Hyogo Prefecture in Japan named Issei Sagawa who in 1981 killed and ate his Dutch female classmate. We know of the secret operation conducted by the People's Commissariat for Internal Affairs of the Soviet Union in the Katyn Forest in the 1940s. And we know of the Rwandan genocide and the 8 Immortals restaurant murders in Macau. When we speak of these things, we say that they are evil, that they are appalling events that have occurred upon the earth. I agree that these are evil, but as far as I am concerned, these are not yet the most evil. Because these things can still be recorded on Wikipedia, can still be looked up by us, known by us, denounced by us, discussed by us, guarded against by us. Because everyone knows they are wrong, everyone knows they are evil, they are not the most evil. The most evil things, those that affect ordinary people most deeply, almost no one perceives at all. No one feels these things to be wrong, most people feel they are very good, and that is precisely where the most evil demons hide. When we speak of Mandela, everyone praises him, everyone says he was a fighter for South Africa, that he liberated South Africa, that he was a saint. No one will say he was evil. But if you cast your gaze far enough, perhaps your view of him will change. We likewise would not classify Bentham, Voltaire, Diderot, and John Stuart Mill among the evil, because they did not dance at midnight wearing masks of human skin, did not eat their female classmates, and certainly did not kill tens of thousands. What they did was far more concealed, far more complex, and far more difficult to trace than these acts. The majority of people cannot construct a causal connection between their writings and the various sufferings endured by modern people. This has earned them tremendous reverence over the past 2 centuries. In many people's eyes they are godlike beings. But as far as I am concerned, the influence wrought upon human society by their massacre of the traditional cultures of every nation is far more terrifying than that of the Mongol armies. One day on X I came across a photograph. It showed a prison cell in Denmark. The cell had a tastefully designed bathroom, a comfortable bed, windows, and curtains. I looked into the matter further. These prisoners, if they can be called prisoners, had flat-screen televisions in their rooms, showers, and refrigerators. Their prison was equipped with professional recording studios, culinary schools, and woodworking workshops, where they could happily learn skills, and could play sports with the prison guards, dine together with them, and discuss Björk together with them. In some northern European prisons, the prisoners' wives and children may even visit them, and even live with them for several days. Yet more outrageously, in places like Sweden, Finland, and the Netherlands, certain inmates may go out to work during the day and drive back to the prison in the evening. I saw the comments under that post. Most of them expressed envy at how these prisoners lived better than most people. Their custom-fitted brains can apparently extend only this far in their understanding. They cannot perceive that this is true evil, cannot perceive that this evil is changing our world, that it is overturning your world. There have been many evil persons and evil deeds in history. But to me, what is being described here is far more evil than those. These luxury cells are far more evil than the slaughter of the Armenians by the Ottoman Empire. More evil than the Issei Sagawa who ate his female classmate or the Edgain who danced wearing a mask of human skin. Even more evil than something like the Red Wedding, because even a peasant knows the Red Wedding is evil. I saw a news report saying that a Norwegian who had killed 77 people, named Breivik, was complaining to the media that the model of his game console was too old, demanding that the prison authorities replace it with the latest model. This is something that took place a few years ago at Halden Prison in Norway. A man who had killed 77 people should not be appearing before the public in this way. He should not appear before the public in this posture, because doing so is tantamount to telling the public that even after killing 77 people one can still enjoy the most advanced game console, can still go on living happily. This is an insult to justice, the greatest mockery of cause and effect, and it is exactly what the demons most wish to see. The mere fact that he appears before the public in this posture, that the public learns of him in this state, is already the most evil thing of all. For he is showing the public that cause and effect do not exist. The evil of this matter far exceeds the massacres of the Mongols, far exceeds dancing in a mask of human skin at midnight. Because it makes people falsely believe that committing crime brings no consequences. 30-some years ago, in the early 90s, Norway and Sweden were among the places I once longed to visit, because of the Nobel Prize for Literature. They had long been among my desired travel destinations. But now I have not the slightest desire to go to such places, because in my eyes they have long since become factories of high-grade wrong views. Perhaps they were so long before, only at the time I lacked sufficient wisdom to see all this clearly. The names that once shone brilliantly on the Nobel list have likewise long since ceased to shine in my eyes. Over the past 2 or 3 decades, the world has undergone earth-shaking changes, and our lives have undergone earth-shaking changes too. Many people are unwilling to marry, still more are unwilling to have children, and those who steal no longer feel any shame, they have become forthright and unembarrassed. Do you know why this is? It is precisely because of these silently transforming influences, because so many people are pushing all manner of demonic views in the name of love and freedom. So you can see that prison is no longer a place where criminals are punished, it has become more like a community service center. The reason I call this evil is that it has thrown all tradition and all human relations into disorder. It has caused evil deeds no longer to be punished and good deeds no longer to be rewarded. The result is that in the end every one of us will be harmed. Over the past 20-some years, our resistance to many demonic views has turned into habituation and then into acceptance, and this in fact has not taken much time at all. The majority of people are far more foolish than they imagine. So if we continue down this road, our prisons will soon become like this too, will become the playgrounds of the demons. The demons treat their own people very generously. Those who have committed crimes, those who have killed 77 lives, they ought to be punished, ought to be put in chains, ought to be hanged. Yet they live like ordinary people, even more pampered than ordinary people. They can complain that their nutrition is not good enough, can complain that their game console is an older model, can complain that their wives' visiting hours are too short, so that they have to endure the suffering of separation. This is the playground of the demons. The demons want us to see that one can commit crimes and not be punished. This, of course, is not true. This world has both heaven and hell, but those are not within the demons' jurisdiction, so they can only do these things in the human world, within the territory under their command. They want to use such matters to influence our minds, to make what we have always held firm collapse, to make us make wrong choices. There are always fools in this world who believe they are doing the right thing. Those people in Northern Europe, perhaps they truly believe that doing this is better for the world, believe that they are more civilized, more humane. This world, in fact, is anything but friendly toward ordinary people, and it is exceedingly hard to read, because the most evil things customarily appear before you in the most civilized guise. They appear in the guise of leaders of civilization, leaving you full of admiration for them. They look not in the least bit evil, there are no fangs, no red skin, and it is precisely because of this that you are poisoned without knowing it. Just as very few people can perceive the evil and the trap concealed in the fact that, in Zootopia 2, a snake can be friends with a rabbit. Even fewer can understand why the distinction between self and other is itself an evil. Yet from the standpoint of the Buddha Dharma, it is the greatest evil. It is the ancestor of all evils, the kind of evil that all other evils stand in awe of and must call grandfather. There is also that famous Titanic, which I imagine we have all seen. I believe it has profoundly affected the values of a great many people, has affected the lives of a great many people, has turned many people's lives into hell. From its release in the 90s to today, the seeds it has sown have sprouted and grown in countless hearts, affecting the lives of billions of people. It enables your girlfriend to say to you, with perfect composure, "I just went out with him for a few days, there is nothing between us. Why are you leaving?" It enables your son to think that traditional culture is an outmoded antique. If I were to say that this is more evil than massacring a city, it has massacred those things in your heart that could have protected you. They probably would not be pleased. They hold that this is great love, not evil. The world's fall began with Matthew's mother in Downton Abbey, that middle-class widow, Isabel Crawley, forever at swords points with the Earl of Grantham's mother, the Dowager Countess Violet Crawley. Fancying herself possessed of forward-thinking views, forever trying to meddle in every affair of the estate. It began when Lady Sybil Crawley, the youngest daughter of Downton Abbey, married Tom Branson the chauffeur. It began with the Korean Confucian scholar official Jong Yak-jeon, exiled to an island and beginning to compose the mackerel records of Mount Ja. It began with the hair shorn from the heads of the Jiangnan literati in 1645, and the blood that flowed everywhere on the ground. It began with Beyond's glorious years dedicated to Mandela by Wong Kar-kway. It began with the bullet fired at Martin Luther King. It began when we were tempted by the demons and began to accept the demons' gifts. Began when we came to trust our own extremely limited experience and ideas and began to discard tradition. began when we came to respect every form of abnormal aesthetic and to call it a high-fashion face, began when we came to believe that there is self and other, there is I and you. Began with that single thought of ignorance arising amid the original luminosity. A century ago, traditional values still held in British society. In the 1920s, divorce was still a matter of disgrace. No one in those days held a banquet to celebrate a divorce, and people would avoid divorced women. But because of people like Isabel Crawley, only 1 century later people no longer feel divorce to be a more serious matter than losing a strand of hair. The British Empire ought to thank persons such as her, were it not for the emergence over the past 100-odd years of so many people like Isabel Crawley. It would not have become, a century later, the paradise of immigrants and ruffians that it is today. Yesterday I saw that a woman in Paris had had her face surgically transformed into a horse's face. Not a metaphor, a real horse's face. She ought to thank the Isabel Crawleys, the Voltaires, and the Diderots for giving her the opportunity not to be regarded as a monster. The majority of people are like Isabel Crawley. They do not know that they are foolish, do not know the consequences of their actions, do not know that they are doing harm. Do not know that what they call independent thinking is in truth merely thinking along the lines that others have set out for them. They feel that they are people of intellect, that their views are unsurpassably correct. So they cannot bear to remain quiet. Yet they, like the Baroness Merton, Isabel Crawley, are unable to foresee the consequences of their own ideas. Isabel Crawley does not know that the ideas she promoted would, more than a century later, produce notions that would lead to her descendants being assaulted and humiliated on the streets of London in 2025 by immigrants from North Africa. Does not know that her ideas would lead to British society having more than 50 options for gender, that some statues would be removed, that some street names, building names, and curriculum content would be opened up for renewed debate. The root of the world's fall lies in the fact that a great many fools propagate ideas that they themselves take to be correct. Perhaps they act out of good intentions, but acting out of good intentions does not mean that good results will follow. The absence of wisdom means they do not know they are already in the demon's grip. It leads them to believe that they hold truth in their hands. But what they hold in their hands is, far more likely than truth, a venomous serpent. All evils, great and small alike, find their root in our dualistic discrimination, in our cherishing of the self, in our impulse to prove ourselves and to protect ourselves.